Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal, where we invite you to explore the heart and soul of our company, Kivi Brothers Trucking. Through engaging storytelling, insightful market updates, and vibrant energy, our podcast reflects our culture, values, and achievements. Whether you're a team member or industry enthusiast, join us to build connections, foster growth, and inspire excellence. Discover why we're more than just a company. We're a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those aspiring to be part of something extraordinary. The pre-trip is complete and engines ready. We're set to hit the road on the Keep Trucking Personal podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. My name is Tyler Kivi, and I'm your host as usual. Right. Today, I have a special person who I feel like I tell everybody on this podcast that they're family. And some people may be family just because we consider everyone family, but you are family through marriage.
Sure.
And I feel like I've known your kids for a long time outside of Dakota marrying your daughter. But Tom Land, welcome.
Thank you.
So Tom is a customer service rep, and he takes care of one of our larger customers. And I think, Tom, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do in your day-to-day?
So day-to-day, I spend time taking a look at tenders that come across from this customer, see if it's a good fit for our network, if we have trucks available, and I make decisions, daily whether or not to accept, this freight or not.
It sounds easy on paper, right? Like deciding if we can handle the freight or not.
Right.
Because it's really... There's how many days, I feel like you're always on a tightrope. You either have too much freight or not enough freight. Is there ever a time that feels less stressful? Because I like to always say you're either busy finding freight or you're busy covering freight.
So I think something that we strive for in this business is a perfect fit.
Yeah.
So it's something that we work through, on a daily, weekly basis, having that balance with freight and truck availability. So if we can find that sweet spot, it's a home run, but more often than not, it's not. So
that's a good way to put it, the right fit, because what you do also is build off of a load, right? So you might have a lane that's, let's say, Minnesota to Iowa. Your goal is kind of pairing that up already with freight, whether you control it or somebody else has. So you're, like you said, you're trying to put a puzzle piece in there to say, hey, if you load here to here, I'm trying to set you up for the best reload that could be planned, almost synchronized, right? In synchrony with the next shipment that you have available, or somebody does.
Right. So, we're always looking at, efficiencies with deadhead and other things. So when you can get, one customer load to synchronize with another customer load, that's a big win for us and for everyone, really. So,
yeah, well, especially the drivers, right? That's our end goal. The faster they move, the happier they are, and the better we pre-plan them, the happier they are.
For sure.
So we could belabor, the planning and stuff. I want to get to know you a little bit more. And for anybody that has not met Tom, you're in our drop yard in Duluth.
Yep.
So I'm assuming majority of the drivers have had their interactions coming into that little office. But for somebody that's never met Tom Land, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself personally? I
spent most of my life in the Twin Cities, and I've been in the Duluth area since early 2005. I have 8 children. So between my first marriage and my second marriage, we have 8 children. Youngest is just starting high school here. He's 17 years old, and the oldest is went to school with you, I believe, right?
Yeah.
My oldest,
and I thought so
34.
It was 2005 when you guys moved here, because I could have swore I met him earlier than 2005, because I think I could met him in middle school.
It was late 2005.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've had the pleasure of knowing your family, not only through marriage, but through school and meeting everyone. And like you said, you have a big family.
Yep.
I've been to a lot of interactions, whether it's holidays and stuff, where, our families meet together, but I haven't been to one of your family, like complete family reunions or any of that. What's it like having that big of a family?
It's wonderful. Growing up, especially when the kids were little, it was a busy, loud house. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And, those are some of the, enjoyable times in my life. I really liked the busy house.
Yeah.
Now that they're older and some of the kids are, across the country, I really cherish those times that we can get everybody together, and we typically try to get together in August at my parents' place in Cross Lake.
Okay, yeah.
We did that last summer, and it was a house full of kids and grandkids too. So,
how many total with kids and grandkids are you up to now?
Grandkids, we're at 9 now, and 2 on the way. So,
wow, so 8 kids, 9 grandkids, almost 11 grandkids.
Correct. Yep.
We pushing on 20 kids and grandkids.
So there's, several kids that have, they don't have any kids yet. So my oldest has 4.
Yeah.
So I think there's 3 or 4 of the younger ones haven't had any kids yet. So
there's a time
it's going to be a pile.
Christmas is going to be,
it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you said, I'm not quite stepping on your heels there with 4, but I do get the busyness. And like you said, I feel like you always you're so eager to get them grown up and into other things.
Right.
Like your mind is always, how do you get them there? And then now in your situation, you have them almost all out of the house, graduated, and you're going, I can't wait to see you guys again when you come back.
Absolutely. And, as hard as it can be at sometimes, and the kids are young, but, find a way to enjoy the moment for sure.
Yeah, and I noticed right before this podcast, you rode in on your motorcycle. Yeah. So now got motorcycles, fishing.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you like to do, your hobbies.
Yeah. So, I mean, my motorcycle, I think I got my motorcycle endorsement when I was probably 18, 19. And when I started a family, I just let it go. And I thought, well, someday, when I'm old, when I'm in my 50s, I might want to get my endorsement again. So, yeah, I got a motorcycle and started riding again. And it was very, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think when I think of safety on a motorcycle, it's not so much the driver on the motorcycle, it's the people around the motorcycle. And
Absolutely.
I think of the things that we're trying to do as a company to be safer, especially on road awareness, right? And motive.
Absolutely.
Motive and the tools and the technology and the driver safety score and everything that we are on a mission to drive up helps protect those people around motorcycles. It's a scary world out there. And I think being on a motorcycle and knowing, and I don't know where I'm kind of going with this in a sense, but I think of how I've been on a motorcycle in an accident myself. And
that's scary.
Yeah. It
so
is.
There, like you say, there are a lot of parallels with, driving a tractor trailer and driving a motorcycle. So you're always, paying attention to your surroundings more. So you don't take anything for granted. You always have an exit, or you're planning for the worst so that you can be prepared.
Yeah.
With a motorcycle, you're always checking road conditions, potholes, if there's debris in the road.
Yeah.
If you don't ride in someone's blind spot, you're always assuming someone's going to pull over and not see you, so that you're never putting yourself in harm's way.
Well, and I think that has gotten worse in the last 10 years with the way cell phones are, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like the situation is somebody's glancing here and they don't see you or hear you. And all of a sudden, I'm going to merge over. And so, yeah, like you said, it's very similar to trucking. You're always looking for your outlet. Where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And how do I navigate this? A little different with the motorcycle. You see some rain coming, you might have to just turn your light.
You can handle rain a little better in a tractor trailer.
Well, and I think another interesting thing is you have your Class A.
Correct.
And you've actually... So you not only plan the loads here, but you've hauled the loads here. Why don't you tell us about one of your trips that you've taken?
So I was fortunate back in February that we had a trade show down in San Antonio. I was fortunate to be able to take that trip down to there. My son was down there living at the time, and he and his wife are expecting, and it just worked out that I was able to get down there, and they had their baby while I was down there. So that was pretty cool. So I got to see my new granddaughter,
down, take care of the trade show, go see your family.
We had a trade show down there. It was pretty awesome to head down there. And so this big, huge convention center in San Antonio, you actually had to drive inside the convention center. And then once you get in there was actual ramp to go up a whole entire floor to a different level. So you're driving in, it was just bizarre. It was pretty awesome though. So driving in and up the ramp onto another floor where you could actually do a loop inside this big convention center. It was pretty cool.
Well, and I remember when you took that, because Motive was new to us.
Yep.
We just talked about Motive, but Motive was 2 months in for us. And when you went down and back, you have a driver profile and all that. You got back, and all of a sudden, every week we get a leaderboard. And I was like, what's Tom Land's name doing on this lead? Like,
what happened?
Because you have to drive more than 100 miles. Like, plenty of people move trucks around the yard. You have to have over 100 miles to build a score. And I was like, he's got a score of 100. And so I called Derek because I don't know when he reminded me. He's like, well, Tom took that load to San Antonio. And I'm like, he knocked it out of the park. He didn't have one event pop up. So that's, if you think of from here to San Antonio, 35, I mean, busy interstate all the way down, especially when you're in Texas. You didn't have any close following. You didn't have any unsafe lane changes. You didn't have any distracted cell phone all the way down and back. And I know it's one trip, but it's one trip over after one trip is how you make it. That's how any driver can get a good safety score, is trip after trip, not necessarily get lost in like, well, I'll never get a good score. Right. Take one day at a time, one trip at a time, 1 week at a time. And you prove point in case that it can be done.
Yeah. And I wasn't, really paying attention to, what my safety score is going to be. I just, did what is expected of me, just to don't touch your phone. So I actually went out and purchased a phone holder because I was using that for navigation. Yeah. And I had that on a pedestal that came out of the cup holder. Yep. So I was able to see that while I was driving. And just
Michael likes to say, just follow the law.
Right. Follow the law. Pay attention. Stay off your phone. It's all things that we know. It's just more of discipline, self-discipline to adhere to.
Habits are hard to break.
For sure. Sure.
It's interesting because I read a lot of like self-help books and this, and I'm always, I find myself in these rabbit holes or on social media or something. Yeah. So this week I set on an iPhone, you can set like a timer per se for any social media app. It'll kind of block you after. So I went from, wide open, and I just set it at 15 minutes a day. Nice. So I didn't realize how bad my habits were with social media until all of a sudden I pick my phone up and I go to hit the button and it's grayed out. And I'm like, why am I even trying to look at that? Like, what am I doing?
What happened?
So finding my own weak spots, but that could be the same thing for when you're not used. You get into one of our trucks with motive, or you get into a situation. It takes a little bit to break and walk through that. It's not just here we go. You got to work it, but you did great.
Yeah, it was fun.
How long have you had your Class A?
Mid 2021.
Oh, so relatively 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, a little over 3 years. Wow, that's pretty recent. I thought it was a little longer. And so being not really a familiar over-the-road trucker and going to San Antonio, how was that?
It was a great experience. Just being able to, put myself in the shoes of a lot of our drivers.
Relatability is a big thing.
Absolutely. And so obviously I was encounter some, there's many of the different scenarios that our drivers encounter, but I did get a taste of it, and I was grateful for having that opportunity. So
yeah, I think it helps put it, and we've tried with many office people of, hey, there's a day we can take you, even to go pick up loads locally or something, to get people to ride in a truck with a driver or whoever it is. You get to learn a lot of, like, it's not, even when somebody says, hurry up, you have a half hour to get there, you have an hour to get there. It might look easy on our maps. It might look easy in retrospect until you're actually in the seat, in the lane, and there's road construction and it's backed up. So yeah,
everything on paper works out perfectly.
Yeah, it's so easy to be like, click, 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 here it is.
Yeah, there's so many other variables that could throw you off with breakdowns and tires and traffic jams and whatever else. So
yeah, what a good experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Have that and then take a trip here and there, and plus check all those boxes, bring grandbaby into the world. And
yeah, it was good.
That's the farthest that you've went, San Antonio, or did you?
Yep, San Antonio.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try maybe.
Stretch it out.
Send me to
Alaska in the middle of winter.
I might have to go with you on that one. It'd be fun. We get a lot of eyes on it whenever somebody goes to Alaska. Like me, myself, I'm usually talking to the driver. When you get stopped, send me some pictures tonight. And every driver says the same thing. Sometimes it's like, okay, that was amazing. I probably wouldn't do it every week. That's not my dream every week, but that was a unique experience, and it's a bucket list thing. And yeah, I think if there's ever a chance somebody gets to do it, maybe not winter, but summertime, sure, I think you can't go wrong. It's cool. 3,000 miles of open mountain fields, animals, anything you can imagine is right there. So back to the customer service side, you've had to manage through the ups and the downs, the situations that might arise, whether it's a shipper's issue or maybe we have a driver conflict, something going on. tell me a little bit about the highs, the lows. What advice do you have for a driver to be successful? Because like you said, on paper, we try to put everything together that makes sense.
Right.
What helps?
I guess from my perspective on, things that drivers can do to be successful is probably repeated from other folks, but communication. Communication, pre-planning, and be in charge of your own destiny. So, if you're on a load and you don't have a reload yet, be knocking on doors to make sure that you get that reload lined up. A lot of times, we're out there competing with all these other carriers, all the other trucks for appointment times, for example. And so we want to be best in class and beat all these other carriers and trucks out there for getting these appointments. So a lot of times it's hard to pinpoint, a day and a time that you're going to be somewhere to pick up a load or drop off a load. But, rather schedule something early and then work to reschedule afterwards as needed versus just waiting. Because a lot of times you end up, if you wait too long, all of a sudden, that shipper or that customer, they're fully booked for a day or two and you end up sitting and waiting and no one's happy when that happens. So
that's something we haven't talked about on the podcast. Appointments. Usually in flatbed, it's pretty first come, first serve. Like most of it's job site delivery. Most of it's where we've been waiting for that, or we just bought it and we want it now. Like hurry up and get it here. But that's a different side of the flatbed that we haven't really elaborated on in appointments, and kind of the customers that you deal with is very disciplined on appointments. Yeah,
very, very disciplined. So I work with some of our steel companies we haul for too, and we'll have loads, for example, that have a due date of, say, deliver next Tuesday. And so you think, well, there must be appointments available on that Tuesday, and I won't worry about setting up that appointment until I pick the load up. Well, then you pick the load up and call, and there's no appointments available.
Yeah.
So then, you got to work back through the shipper and, they're not really happy about that. But so always good to be proactive, be in charge of, your own destiny as far as, being able to synchronize all your pickups up and drops off.
Or if you see
without any downtime.
You see something that needs to be altered sooner than later, you need to know. And I think so. This is a good point too. So appointments are necessary with your customers.
Absolutely.
We put information on our trip sheets, and that if it's set up right in TMW, we'll transfer over into Motive on the driver's dispatch. But where I'm going to this is make sure you're reading your trip sheet. Make sure you're looking at the dates. Not everything is allowed, or like we're not allowed to just deliver late because we get penalized, or the customers, they're calling you and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen, and so on. Really make sure you communicate, read your information, and understand that we are competing for freight against many carriers, and maybe not even the freight itself, the appointment time itself. So we have freight going here. And if you as a driver don't say, hey, I'm going to pick up, I see on my trip sheet it needs delivery appointment, this is when I'll be there. Can we get it there sooner than later? Or maybe there's already a delivery appointment, but hey, I'm on site too long. What can we do to alter this? And sometimes it's work in, right? Like we're not going to bump it a day. It's just, hey, they know because we communicated a day ahead of time that you're coming in around noon versus 9 a.m. They'll work you in.
Right.
It seems like most people are flexible as long as they know. You message them after. Maybe
after the fact, it's a lot harder to work through. So they're a lot less understanding when it's after the fact. But if you can reach out ahead of time and give them a heads up, usually the folks I work with are very, very grateful, when you give them a heads up ahead of time. So
I think that really goes for any type of shipment.
Yeah.
You're behind because of whatever circumstance, right? Let's not pin it down, but you're behind schedule or ahead of schedule, communicate.
Absolutely.
Let us know, hey, the appointment's for tomorrow, but can I get it today because I'm 100 miles away? We'll try.
Yep.
We'll try, and then you won't frustrate a customer or be frustrated yourself. Go all the way in there and not get unloaded.
Yep. And a lot of those execution, executing both pickup and drop off, it greatly impacts our relationship with these customers. And when we have, good scores and good performance and execution with our customers, it opens doors for us. So it's all good. So there's no downside to it.
Just like we talked about Motive, it's one load at a time. If you execute on one load at a time and you build on that, when it comes time for whether they have projects or bid season is up, they put weight in on how our scores are and how we do. That's definitely, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't have that on my notes talking about appointments.
Good.
Like I said, it's new to think about that. So considering a driver now, you've been out there, understand how and what we do, been to a show where you had to represent and represent professionally and handle that. And you just got to, you've been able to taste a little bit of everything that goes into being part of a flatbed company.
Yep.
And Haley, your daughter, which I don't think we mentioned, who's Dakota's wife,
right,
also works here. So you get to see family hopefully every day. Maybe there's some days you don't get to see her because she's in a different building.
But yeah, I hear from her, correspond with her. And
did you, I get asked this all the time. And most of the time it's, how do you work with family? Like, right. Like that's almost always a common question. Like, you work with your brothers? And I'm like, more than my brothers. I got my dad, my uncles, sister-in-law's father. Like, you keep expanding out, but it's all family. What, for you, did you ever think you'd be working with family?
No, not really. No, I, in my previous work history, I've been, worked for large publicly held companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy the family atmosphere, and I'm grateful for it. And if someone hasn't transitioned like I have from a publicly held company to a family company, I like I say, there's a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. Well, and I should mention you sit in the office with Derek. So you have our CEO right next to you, and he may not be a traditional CEO, a little quirky here and there sometimes. He makes you laugh. I feel like every time I go up there, I'm usually laughing.
Right. Yeah. We laugh every day.
You guys are bantering back and forth.
Yeah. He's throwing stuff out there once in a while. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. I think that
I enjoy it.
On the family side, like you said, you picture a CEO rough and tough and trying to wrestle something down, and you go in there and he can make you smile and have a good laugh. And I think that's what helps build into the family atmosphere. Sure. If like you said, someone hasn't experienced it. Well, good. I'm glad you got to take this time to spend with us. There's so many different positions in a company that it takes to move freight. And I love getting to talk with people, getting to share stories. And I'm just grateful that you were able to join us today.
Cool. Happy to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to Keep Trucking Personal. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and comment. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future topics. Please reach out to us at podcast@kivibros.com. Until next time, happy trucking.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Keep Trucking Personal. We appreciate you taking the time to explore the heart and soul of Kivi Brothers Trucking with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Tune in next time as we continue our journey together, diving deeper into what makes us a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those who aspire to be part of something truly extraordinary. Until then, keep trucking, and we'll catch you on the next episode.